In the pitch-black night along a desolate mountain pass, the wail of an ambulance siren ripped through the silence, but inside the vehicle, no patient was breathing, only an icy corpse. And a young driver who had never experienced a truly chilling journey in his life. The deeper he ventured into the mountains, the more the whispers grew, unseen voices, fleeting shadows flickering in the rearview mirror. Little did he know, this night's ride carried not just the dead, but a passage to the afterlife, where the line between life and death was thinner than ever. Let's watch this movie together with Cine. The main character is Nhan, a young man who has just stepped out of the university gates with a bachelor's degree in hand. Since graduating, he's carried high hopes, yet reality has proven far harsher. Lacking work experience, every interview ends with a polite but cold rejection. The doors to prestigious companies seem forever closed to him. And then, as if fate were mocking him, Nhan was abruptly fired by his manager for being late to work. It was all the more bitter because he knew the delay wasn't his fault. That morning, on the way to the office, he saw a panicked female student, riding against traffic to make it to her exam. Suddenly, she swerved right into his path. Instinct took over, Nhan yanked the handlebars to avoid hitting her. His motorbike skidded violently, throwing him onto the freezing asphalt. Seeing her pale, frightened face, he couldn't bring himself to scold her or add to her embarrassment. He simply shook his head and stood up, but that moment of leniency cost him the job he had just begun. Back home, his disappointment was obvious to his father, Mr. Hai, and Uncle Ba. They exchanged glances as if they already understood. Aunt Ba tilted her head, eyes filled with concern, but Nhan could still feel the heaviness of their unspoken worry. Bitterness welled up inside him. He wasn't lazy. Yet in today's world, attitude, skills, and experience often matter more than a degree. For a fresh graduate, unfamiliar with workplace culture, it's difficult to gain support from colleagues. The thought made him sigh and shake his head helplessly, while searching for new opportunities on his computer. A strange sound from the next room startled him. Rushing in, he found his father trapped in a nightmare. Mr. Hai, longtime ambulance driver, had spent decades transporting patients and corpses. Over the years, he had witnessed countless life-and-death moments, and even events science couldn't explain. Since Nhan's graduation, his father had been plagued by frequent nightmares. Waking in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, haunted by something unseen. Yet seeing his son nearby always seemed to calm him. Staying to watch over his father had cost Nhan more than one important interview. One day, Uncle Ba called, his tone cheerful yet tinged with concern. "Want to try driving an ambulance?" It turned out Mr. Hai, now ill, was planning to sell the vehicle he had relied on all his life. Uncle Ba, unwilling to let it go, thought of Nhan when someone offered a high price for a delivery run. Hoping to help him earn some money and keep the ambulance from being sold, seeing the meager balance in his bank account, Nhan agreed, standing before his father's ambulance. Memories of his father's stories came flooding back. This was not just a tool for earning a living, it was part of his father's life. Mr. Tamskar, the caretaker, handed him the keys with a tense expression, eyes darting nervously toward the vehicle. His lips parted as if to speak, but he remained silent. That night, Nhan's first trip began at the hospital morgue. A doctor appeared under the pale lights, face rigid and cold as stone. Nhan's heart raced for a moment, but he was relieved to realize it wasn't a ghost. After placing the corpse on the stretcher inside the ambulance, the doctor handed him the death certificate, gave brief instructions, and walked away without looking back. Nhan glanced at the body bag in the back, and was about to close the door when a weary-looking young man in faded clothes appeared. He pleaded for a ride home. At first, Nhan refused. He didn't want to get involved with strangers, but the man's desperate eyes, along with the unsettling presence of the corpse behind him, made him reluctantly agree. As the ambulance rolled into the night, the man Fong introduced himself and quickly struck up a conversation. His lively, slightly mischievous demeanor eased the tension. Nhan began to relax, until a cold, eerie laugh echoed from the back seat. Both men froze and exchanged glances. Nhan looked back, nothing but stillness. Fong ignored it, pulling out a recorder and revealing that he was a journalist, writing about ambulance drivers to help people better understand the job. He promised not to tarnish the profession. Nhan agreed to talk, on the condition that his name be kept anonymous and that he approved the article before publication. On the way, they stopped at a roadside porridge shop. The owner's face soured at the sight of the ambulance, especially after learning there was a corpse inside. She grabbed a kitchen knife and loudly ordered them to leave. Resigned, they returned to the vehicle, ate bread in silence, and continued their journey. When Fong tried to record the incident, the small music player inside the ambulance, set to play Buddhist chants, suddenly malfunctioned. He picked it up, accidentally dropping it into the rear corner. As he bent to retrieve it, a faint sound came from inside the body bag. Fong froze, eyes widening in terror. Then, in the flickering light, the corpse's face slowly emerged, as if it had been waiting for this moment all along. The corpse's pale, icy face froze Fong in place. His heart pounded, breath quickened, and an instinctive scream escaped his lips. In that instant, he noticed the body bag in the back give a slight twitch. Fong tried to steady himself, but cold sweat was already dripping down his forehead. Taking a deep breath, swallowing hard, and with no other choice, he summoned all his courage, reached out with trembling hands, and slowly pulled the zipper shut. The metallic click-clack echoed in the cramped space, until whoosh, a massive rat burst out from inside. Fong jumped back with a startled cry, leaping as if electrocuted. He stumbled into the seat, jolting the vehicle. Nhan had to brake hard, gripping the wheel to stop the ambulance, then opened the back so the rat could scurry away. Only then did the commotion settle. As the ride continued, the two men struck up a conversation to ease the tension. The road stretched ahead, swallowed in darkness, the night wind slipping in through the cracked window. On a bridge, a schoolgirl in a white odai stood silently, arms slowly waving at the roadside. Out of kindness, Nhan stopped, but Fong's brow furrowed. Something felt wrong. His voice was sharp. Go, don't stay here. Once they had driven some distance, he explained, it's midnight. What student would be going to school at this hour? Nhan, half skeptical, thought Fong was overreacting, but moments later, a motorbike passed them, and on the back was the same schoolgirl. She shot them a look of annoyance, as if scolding them for refusing her a ride. Embarrassed, Nhan teased Fong for being paranoid, yet Fong kept watching until his eyes widened. The motorbike's back seat was empty. The girl had vanished. Before he could recover, a chill crawled up his spine. The corpse in the back suddenly sat upright, turning its head slowly, black eyes locking onto him. Shuddering, Fong whipped his gaze away, while Nhan only saw his friend acting strangely. Nothing was there. Elsewhere, Nhan's father, Mr. Hai, was trapped in a dream. He sat in the driver's seat, hands clamped on the wheel, eyes filled with helplessness. In the rearview mirror, an old, vengeful ghost wailed, drawing closer, its wrinkled, feral face twisting in rage. Just as it seemed ready to drag his soul away, something even more powerful and terrifying appeared in front of the ambulance, jolting him awake. Back on the road, a dead tree blocked the way. The two men got out to clear it, puzzled why Nhan had taken this narrow route instead of the highway. As they stopped, a white apparition drifted down from the branches. Heart-pounding, they scrambled back into the vehicle. But the spirit clung to the roof, its movements thudding faintly above. They held their breath, frozen in place, until it suddenly slammed down onto the windshield, rapping against the glass with a bone-chilling thud. Phong gasped as though breaking free from a nightmare. After a long, tense night, the ambulance suddenly broke down. Nhan called Uncle Ba for repair instructions, quickly getting it running again. While waiting, Fong stepped outside and heard a sorrowful sigh. Following the sound, he met a young woman who told him her family had once been abandoned by a driver in the middle of nowhere. Moved by her story, he agreed to give her and her family a ride. Meanwhile, Nhan had wandered off, drawn to a patch of fresh, vivid flowers by the roadside. Plucking one, he returned to find Fong mentioning their 3 new passengers, but when Nhan looked back, there was no one. Back inside, Fong seemed strangely preoccupied with the young woman. Then, in the dim interior of the ambulance, he saw them ghostly figures of the entire family, seated in the back. Trembling, he forced himself to look again. They were still there, eyes fixed on him. Fong realized he was truly seeing spirits. He warned Nhan, but in Nhan's eyes, the back held only a single corpse. Strange guttural moans filled the air. Closing his eyes, Fong began chanting prayers, hoping to drive away the evil. Suddenly, a black claw ripped through the air, the ghost appearing right beside him. Unable to bear it any longer, Fong shouted for Nhan to stop. He jumped out, vowing never to return. Nhan, bewildered, continued on to deliver the body. When it was over, Fong finally felt relief, until he turned and saw the young woman's family standing there, silver-lit smiles curling on their faces. At their destination, the girl's relatives thanked Nhan sincerely, trying to press money into his hands. He politely refused, offering his condolences, and thought to himself, maybe this job wasn't so bad after all. What will happen next? Let's wait for the next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you find it an interesting video. See you soon.